Yes, I mean, counterintuitively, a lot of analysts, a lot of experts are saying that let's assume that the Russians, for once in their lying lives, are telling the truth and Prigozhin is dead, that far from making Putin look stronger, because if he's dead, Putin did it, there's no doubt about that, it makes Putin look weaker. And Tobias Elwood on this channel, I think it was yesterday, maybe Saturday, said that he thought Putin was very close to the end. What's your view on that?
I think in the short term, it's probably made him stronger. What he's been able to do is to eliminate somebody who is clearly popular. I mean, it's fascinating when Prigozhin and his Wagner group marched on Moscow, how clearly popular he was in Rostov-on-Don. And we've also seen the memorials and the flower lane going on around the country, including in St. Petersburg. And St. Petersburg is fascinating because St. Petersburg is where Putin himself come from. So even in, if you like, in his heartland, Prigozhin was popular. So there's something that clearly to Putin worried him enormously about that. But in the short term, he's made himself stronger. He also removed a man called Surovkin. And Surovkin was chief of the aerospace forces. He had the nickname of General Armageddon because he used bombing to destroy opposition in Syria. So in the short term, he's made himself stronger. But I don't disagree with Tobias Elwood. I think what it does basically fundamentally show is the fragility and weakness of his regime. So you're looking at something that's kind of like hard and brittle on the outside, but actually it is fundamentally brittle. And at some point, this is just my view, but at some point, those who are supporting Putin at the moment may turn on him and just say, whatever we're getting out of Putin, we'll achieve more with him gone than with him here. So that's kind of my take on it.
What is the significance, if, as I say, I mean, well, let me ask you this, Simon. Do you believe he's dead? Because, as I say, you know, if the Russians say something, I tend to believe the opposite. But do you believe he is dead now?
I think I do. I mean, I share your scepticism, Kevin. I think you're right to be sceptical. I mean, I think, you know, that they've taken what they call Maskarov to deception to a whole new level. I kind of put laughing emojis on my Twitter whenever I get a Russian embassy spokesman coming on. I mean, you know, really, I really do. But I mean, I think he's dead. And that I think is there. I mean, I say the significance is broader than that, but I mean, he's gone for the time being, I think, anyway. The Wagner group is still there, but I think there's got no leadership and what they're going to do. But also, it's interesting what they're going to do in places like Africa and stuff like that. But no, I think he's gone.
And do you put any store by reports that there were contingency plans in place should Prigozhin mysteriously die, that the Wagner group would kind of you know, had plans to attack Russia, to do something to Putin, and so on and so forth? Do you put any store by that?
I wouldn't completely disown it. I mean, it is quite possible within their kind of, you know, in their inner circle. And it's a very strange inner circle. I mean, Prigozhin was the leader of them. Their operation leader also died in the plane crash, a man called Udkin, who was a Nazi. I mean, it's quite extraordinary. I mean, the accusation of the Russian government... I don't know why
I'm laughing, but they are an extraordinary bunch, aren't they?
They were, absolutely. But I mean, this guy had SS runes tattooed on his collarbones. I mean, and yet the Putin regime was accusing the Ukrainians of being a neo-Nazi regime. So, yeah, very bizarre. I don't think they've necessarily got the organisation to do that. They may be the odd fanatic, and I think he had a very sort of high level of personal followership amongst the Wagner group. But to have the ability then to kind of turn around and mount a major operation against Putin again, I rather suspect at the moment the answer is no.
And where are we at with the Ukraine war? We were deprived of getting official figures of casualties, which makes me kind of suspicious. But there are reports that it is believed that at least 70,000 Ukrainians have died in this conflict, and it's likely that the similar numbers, similar casualties will have been incurred by Russia. So it's turning into a major, major war of death and destruction. Is any light at the end of the tunnel? I mean, is this catastrophe having an effect on Putin? Might it urge him to come to the table? Where are we at with this?
Yeah, I think in the short term, probably again not. I mean, I think his desperation to try and make some progress in Ukraine is fairly obvious. You're absolutely right to highlight the high casualty levels, and of course, if you look at the numbers of disparity between Ukraine and Russia, Russia theoretically at least would have a greater ability to absorb those casualties. On the other hand, the propaganda works against them. What was supposed to be a special military operation, a limited operation, has turned into anything but a limited operation. And so, if you like, the disillusion caused by the casualties within Russia is likely to be much greater than those within Ukraine. Ukrainians will, with huge reluctance and absolute sadness, but probably accept them as, if you like, the price of existential survival. For Russia, there was the Russian people were sold a pup. They were told it was going to be a sort of coup de main operation to knock off a neo-Nazi bunch of drug dealers. And it's turned into a major war. So I think there's a disparity in there. Short term, I don't think there's going to be much change there. I mean, the Ukrainians are making slow but grinding progress. But bear in mind the disadvantage they've got. I mean, the numbers are against them. They don't have air superiority. And if you look at every major campaign that's taken place since at least 1917, the side that's been able to win in the offensive has had air superiority, and they don't have that. And that is one of the key factors working against them. They've done extraordinarily well, but if you like, the sheer calculus of numbers works against them.
Do you think that Putin might be calculating that if he could just stick it out for the long term, and of course that always is Russia's tactics in war, long and grinding, that if he carries on, that Western support might diminish, and particularly in America, where politicians there, including many of the candidates for the presidency who hope to be the next president, unlike our politicians, have kind of worked out that endless giving of money and weapons to Zelensky might not be popular among the electorate. Our lot seem to think that we're all going, great, give him as much as you can, give him our entire air force, we'll love that. In America, the public mood is really turning against that. Do you think that might be in Putin's calculations, that in the end the West might not be giving quite so much to Zelensky, and then I can win?
I think that's partly it. I mean, he can absorb a longer war, provided he can keep the morale of his soldiers going, and if you like, the support of the Russian people as well. And that calculation of the West running out of patience, running out of, if you like, enthusiasm, being worried about the cost of it, I think he's absolutely there. I don't think it's entirely absent even within our own politicians. They're looking at this and going, well, what do we need to do with our own armed forces? What do we need to do with those? But I think there is greater willingness to make longer sacrifices. At the end of the day, I mean, geography matters. It's much more important to us here on the European continent to have Russia in a good place, Ukraine surviving, than is necessary to America. America has 3,000 miles of the Atlantic to protect itself from Russian aggression. We frankly don't, and we've got our troops forward deployed at the moment in the Baltic. We have a much greater stake in a successful outcome, which means a free and sovereign Ukraine, than the Americans do. And I think that's important.
Well, my technical and scientific surveys around the pubs that I frequent reveal to me that the drinkers that I drink with are not that keen on continuing to give Zelensky unbridled report, so there may be trouble ahead. Great to talk to you, Simon. Thank you very much.